And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to introduce you to probably the most dumbest and potentially worst candidate for Prime Minister in the whole of the country. Yes, even worse than Keir Starmer, even worse than David Lammy and co. That man is called the Green Party leader called Zack Polanski. Now, you may be wondering, well, Dan, the Green Party are insignificant and they will never ever get into power. However, there has been a surge actually in Green Party voters, and this lunatic is currently polling higher than the Tories and Labour. And if you think the Tories and Labour are bad, the Green Party, their manifesto plans would probably end the United Kingdom as we know it. Today we're going to be watching some clips from today of him speaking, and you will start to understand a bit about this individual. And again, there is a realistic possibility that it could be between Reform and the Green Party going into the general election in 2029. As always, guys, we are going to be breaking this down. There's a lot to go through, but first, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. So, yesterday I was on my podcast and we reacted to this youth parliament. We've seen individuals like this, of course, take over Parliament. If you haven't watched the 5-minute compilation, I probably suggest you should watch it, because this is a direction that we're heading into as a country right now, where individuals like these are taking interest in politics. And as a result, what we're seeing here is the voting leaning for people between 18 and 49 leaning towards far left movements like the Green Party. So Labour is still sort of 21% among the younger population, but 25%, you know, for a party that's not a part of the unit parties, that's really, really good. Reform, of course, they're in third, but the Green Party, they're 25%, which is showing that a lot of younger people are very much more aligned with the left. And there's no sort of, that's no sort of surprise to me, of course. School children, part of psyoping and programming for many, many years. And we see the tactics that the far left are using in schools at this moment in time, of course, portraying Reform as Nazis and all of these kind of things. Now, whilst we're going to get onto the videos in a moment of this Zack Polanski guy, he's really bad. This was the most recent poll, and whilst you might look at it and you go, damn, well, look, listen, Reform are 33%, but the Greens, it's 18% currently right now. 18%, that's a massive surge, and of course ahead of the Tories and then Labour in fourth. And now, as I keep on saying, if you think Labour are bad, this lot are even worse. They really are. This is a guy that is on trans rights, LGBT, he would turn this country into a laughingstock. He will turn this country into people looking like these, and turn this country into a party that caters towards people like these. Now, have a watch of this. This guy feels that asylum seekers are not a burden. If we redistribute England's wealth, then immigration from the third world won't be a problem. So he doesn't understand that he thinks third world people are fine just to come into the country despite the culture. His whole ethos is taxing billionaires and millionaires. We're going to get to that very soon, and I'll tell you as to why it doesn't make sense, but just listen to this guy right now.
The point we're at now is where parties like the Greens, the Lib Dems, Reform are talking about this. And I know that you very much want to put immigration at the front and centre of the Green Party's agenda for your views on this to be heard and to cut through the noise, as I think it's been put. But how do you solve the problem? Because these numbers are huge. We have a large number of asylum seekers here who aren't being processed, small boats, criminal gangs, asylum seekers in hotels. How do you make a difference? How will the Green Parties solve the problem and get to a point where, as you said, people are talking about migration and immigration positively?
The numbers just aren't huge. So first of all, I have to challenge the premise of your question. Second, the way we deal with this is to deal with the problems we have in society anyway. You said I want to put immigration front and centre. Actually, I don't. What I want to put front and centre...
The hotels, for example, regardless of numbers, let's take numbers out of it.
Great.
Communities right now do not want asylum seeker hotels. They want them gone. But the big problem is, you know, politicians grappling with where do they go? What do we do with these numbers, small or big, however you want to cut it? What would you do?
Well, I've just released a podcast called Bold Politics with the migration expert Zoe Gardner. You should definitely listen to that. But actually, one report she's just released is about...
I'm on air now, so I'd rather hear your view.
Sure, of course.
Sky News, if that's all right.
It's about breaking up the Home Office and actually having a department of community security, ultimately looking about how do we put money into our communities to create social cohesion, so when people are coming out of hotels, they are supported to get into work, to get on the housing ladder, in the same way that British people should too. This isn't about pitting the problems that British people are facing against migrants. This is recognising the 99%, that's small business owners, migrants, working class people, people who are out of work, have so much more in common than people who are earning more money in their sleep than any of us could possibly ever imagine. We need to redistribute wealth and power in this country, and then immigration just simply won't be a problem.
Again, that's his ethos on dealing with immigration. He seems to think that the illegals coming in is absolutely fine. They can come over into the United Kingdom as long as we essentially tax billionaires and millionaires more. I am telling you now, this has been tried to be done. This has been a talking point for thousands of years on trying to tax the rich. It does not work. It's not a thing that is going to lead to all their problems. The same as Zohran Mamdani, it doesn't work whatsoever, especially with inside the United Kingdom. More to the point, he also is one of these guys that believes that you can be whatever you want. So he doesn't believe that there isn't two genders. He believes that, you can be whatever. He's going against science and fact and all of these kind of things. And again, believes, all of those sorts of stuff. So he's going to be pushing us down that route where you can be whatever you want to be as a country.
This issue of gender identity and so on, you believe trans women are women. Was the BBC right to censor its presenter, Martine Croxall, for her eye roll at having to say the words pregnant people?
Well, I push back first of all and say it's not a belief. Trans women are women and trans men are men, and also non-binary identities also exist. And I think it's always important to be really clear about that. In terms of the BBC, they obviously have their own editorial guidelines. It's not for me to tell the BBC how to conduct themselves. In fact, it's for me to be scrutinised. If you're asking me my opinion, though, I think it's really important that journalists are independent and partial. And I think eye-rolling as a journalist is clearly an unprofessional
I think she just said, if trans women are women, why don't we just say women?
If trans women are women, why don't we just say women?
Yeah, who needs pregnant people when you've got the word women?
Well, I think those are different questions to the question you're asking me, which is, should a journalist be eye-rolling? And I just think it's quite obvious, no, they shouldn't.
Zack Polanski, thank you for your time this morning.
Guys, the country's got 18% of the people wanting this guy to win. If a general election was called tomorrow, 18% of the country would want this guy to win. That is a scary, scary thought. You just heard, that was on Sky News this morning, saying, first of all, trans women are... No, they're not. He's also saying there is no such thing as... He believes that a man can be pregnant. It's completely and utterly fantasy. It's pregnant women, and BBC journalists should not be punished for saying pregnant women. And it's the same, imagine the country and the world that we're going to go down in terms of the political correctness and the words that we have to choose to use if this guy was coming into power. Absolute fantasy land he lives in. An absolute farce, absolute fantasy. And as stated, 18% of these are currently following him, and there's still time to sort of go. Remember, there's a lot of psyoping to be done, and remember, Labour are losing votes by the bucket load, and those individuals will probably end up voting for the Greens, so their vote counts, because that's going to be down into sort of 3, and they're already sort of the ones that are still left with Labour are the diehards. So they believe in a world of the far left, so they will choose the party that will get their sort of views into office. More to the point as well, he also ruled out that they're not going to be having a coalition with Labour. There was a sort of thesis, there was sort of a conversation around whether Labour and the Greens would come together, and he said this morning that's not going to be a thing.
Perhaps we can just get one thing off the table. There will be no cooperation between Greens and Labour Party to defeat reform.
Well, I don't think I'm alone in my disillusionment, and in fact a poll out yesterday showed that the majority of the population have completely lost trust in Keir Starmer. Now, this is a man who ran on the coattails of Jeremy Corbyn, but ditched every single pledge before he was even in power. We've got the two-child benefit cap, the disability cuts, the genocide in Gaza. No, Keir Starmer is not a man I would be willing to work with.
Okay, so there will be no electoral deal, however informal, with Labour, even though the division on the left might let reform into number 10.
Well, there's two things there. So in a recent poll just yesterday or the day before, Greens are actually outpolling the Labour Party. We're in 3 points ahead. So the real question you should be asking Keir Starmer is, will he stand aside to make sure that Nigel Farage isn't Prime Minister? But more widely, I was answering about Keir Starmer. I don't think Keir Starmer will be the Prime Minister at the next election. I think it's another question whether he'll even be an MP. And so will I work with a future Labour leader? Depends who the future Labour leader is.
So they're conjuring out potentially that could be a thing. Obviously, he's not going to work with Keir Starmer, but this is a thing now. This is where I'm urging. We're seeing far left. This is as far left as you can go, the Green Party. You think Labour are bad? The things that he will bring into this country, he wants to get rid of our nuclear weapons as a country. And guess what this tit also said today? That he's going to negotiate with Putin so he gets rid of his nuclear weapons. This guy thinks he's going to be... Oh, hello, Vladimir. Get this guy out of here. Yeah, he said, oh, yeah, I'm going to speak with Vladimir to tell him to get rid of his nuclear weapons. The UK are going to get rid of their nuclear weapons under this absolute idiot. And people are actually got a voting attention towards him. And the reason why I'm not raising an alarm, but you've got to keep your sort of your enemy close. But if there was a scene, I can understand that there's still years to go. And seeing, the younger generation and what their sort of voting intentions are for, this would be mental. And also, he was again this morning saying on Sky News that, well, he wants to, again, tax the billionaires out of existence. So, again, essentially, tax our most creative people in the world. And you can have your thoughts on millionaires and billionaires, right? Yeah, some inherited, right, whatever. But usually your millionaires and your billionaires are usually the people, the entrepreneurs that have created something. Money is a byproduct of something that has been created. Whether you like that or not, you live in a capitalist society, and that's what works. Money is a byproduct of what you've created. So inventions, companies, the things that employ people, all of these things. This tit wants to tax them out of existence. The 1% already pay majority of the taxes anyway. They already pay the majority of the taxes. But sending them out and forcing them to exile, they will exile. They'll leave the company. They'll leave the country. It doesn't work. These young left-wing lunatics like Zack, Zohran Mamdani, they haven't got a clue. It's been tried before. That's why it doesn't work. It does not work because they just leave. It's so easy to leave. I am telling you. It's so easy to go UK tax domicile and set up a company in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Cyprus, 0% taxes, registering a company there. So as a byproduct of that, you lose all your millionaires and billionaires. This tax thing of trying to tax the rich just goes away because they're going to put all the tax down on the poor. Economy completely destroys itself, capitulates, and no one's got any money. No one's got any money because there's no millionaires and billionaires. Oh yeah, and remember, he said that it doesn't matter about all these illegals coming in. So all these illegals from freaking the third world in Africa who aren't inventing anything, the bottom of the barrel from their countries, coming into our countries as our most talented people are gone in the UAE, or in Saudi Arabia, or in Cyprus, Singapore, Switzerland, wherever it may be. They're all gone at the top, and all this shit is coming in at the bottom. And then all of a sudden, this is your society under this sort of Green Party leader. Listen to him again.
I can't demand what our members of parliament vote for because they have a free vote, but I would say the principles that we're all standing by is that those with the broadest shoulders should face the biggest burden, and that doesn't make sense to do that across the board universally. People are struggling so hard right now.
So no, you don't want to rise in income tax?
No, people are tired and exhausted. Their wages haven't gone up, but food prices are going up. How can you make some of the hardest working people who haven't had a pay rise in years pay extra tax and allow multimillionaires and billionaires to continue not paying capital gains?
I agree with that, right? They shouldn't be raising the income tax in terms of labour. There can be loads of other cuts that we could be going about, whether that sort of be welfare, whether that be stopping the boats and not paying £40,000 per illegal migrant, scrapping net zero. This guy would only enforce that, getting into the North Sea oil reserves to bring energy bills down. It's simple, right? There's lots of ways that we can save. So, of course, the working people don't get taxed even more or out of existence. But I am telling you, millionaires and billionaires, this process, they already pay the majority of the tax anyway. But taxing them even more, the way that this guy will try and do it, in terms of like trying to obliterate their income, they just won't do it. They just will leave. Why would they stay? Why would they say? I know so many have already left. And I'm telling you, the next budget that hits, the ones that are patriotic, still standing by, no, I'll still pay the taxes, are going to be leaving after that one. If this tit got anywhere near number 10, they'd all be gone. They would all be gone. I dread to think of the world that we live in. By the way, he's got such a massive problem with inventors, entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, people that are actually a part, Elon Musk played a massive part in Tesla. That is the biggest electric car company in the world and actually does play into their sort of mantra, so to speak. However, the UK left don't like him. They don't like him at all because of his political points. And remember, they're coming out giving misinformation to the youth. They're saying Tesla have approved a $1 trillion pay packet for Elon Musk. That's 20 billion times more than the nurses in the UK earns. Don't let anyone tell you immigrants or disabled people are the problem. It's the richest 1% hoarding all of the wealth. Time to tax the super rich properly. And already they're just putting out misinformation, and they got corrected here on social media. This post is mathematically and factually incorrect. 1 trillion divided by 20 billion is 50. Nurses in the UK on average earn between £31,000 to £47,000, not $50. They're fucking idiots. They're putting out posts like this. And I know who it is. I see them. It's young, sort of early 20s girls that at high school, I think it's all called. They have no idea. They genuinely have no idea whatsoever. And this is why there's a lot of guys in that are making political content need to try and target the youth. We really need to see them, because they're being brainwashed, bless them, by schools and by different ideologies and by things what are trendy, following what people are saying, feeling bad about being alienated. I've seen it before. I remember in 2016, these sort of left-wing people were coming up to me and saying, how do you feel about Trump being president? I'm happy. Blocked me off social media and that. Do you know what I mean? They feel so passionately. So you can be alienated from your friendship groups if you have a certain political belief. And as you can see here, London already looking at that, but that's because of the fucking demographic change. We've seen what happened in New York with no IDs legally needing to be shown. This is what's coming, the far left's sort of mission to try and take over government, flood the place with immigrants, 1,500 illegals from Thursday to Saturday. We've seen 1,500 more come in, bringing the votage day all the way down to 16, and of course psyoping the school children over the next few years and telling them that reform are Nazis. Now again, I'm just saying, guys, be careful. I think reform will definitely win the next general election, but this red bar, and this is kind of scary. In terms of this, I can't believe there's 18% of people that actually look and listen to Zack and actually think that this guy could be a good leader for this country. He's a guy that just came on Sky News and said, I'll negotiate with Putin to get rid of nuclear weapons. Shut the fuck up, Zack. Shut up. The guy has an LGBTQ flag in his freaking bio on his Twitter, on his X. The guy has no practical ideas, and this is the problem with the left. Capitalism will be destroyed. The UK will be destroyed. Heck, I'd have Keir Starmer for 15, 20 years over this guy. He is so bad. But yeah, just monitor this line here. Reform really need to take this, and Labour, well, the Greens are probably going to try and take this. I mean, it's not a massive problem right now, but still, that is fairly alarming. That 18% of the UK right now, and 27% in London, and 25% of the sort of voting intention between 18 and 49-year-olds are the Green Party. That's a really scary thought. In all honesty. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on him down there in the comment section below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.